Recording in progress. Okay. Got it. Okay, good. I will try to keep my eye on the chat box for those of you that are attending virtually. If there's something that you have a question on, feel free to drop it in the chat and I will keep glancing over there to make sure that I'm addressing everybody. Okay, so this is my first time of teaching a 36-12-3 class. And I love it because it's designed to get you into the business in a big way in your first year in business. So our introduction, our ground rules for the classes, for those of you who haven't attended in the past, are obviously they want everybody to arrive to class on time, returning promptly from breaks. When we set up a partner arrangement, we'll have a timer on it. So if we need people to do a breakout session, the three of you get together on something, we're just asking everybody to try and be fully present and ready to learn and have your phones on silent mode, which I'm doing right now for myself as well. And then we're also going to try to be really interactive. We're trying to encourage participation. What we say in here stays in here. So we encourage respect for everybody and their personal styles of doing things. We're also asking everybody to be interactive. We're all going to help each other learn through this process. Everybody's got something to contribute, even if we're newer in the business. And then consider everything we discuss confidential. And we really hope that you're going to take some things directly from this class to learn and implement right away. The class is no good if you don't do the activities after you leave the class. And the whole point of this is to get you in production, get your business thriving. We want to see everybody succeed in this company. So there's so many ways to do it. Okay, so in the power session, we're going to start off talking about where you're at today. Okay, what I'd like everybody to do, how many of you have the manual? Does everybody have their manual?
I do.
Okay, do you have paper? But Sheila has paper. Okay, so what you're going to do is we're going to take about a 10 minutes here. I'm going to have you write for 5 minutes and then we're going to discuss for 5 minutes. So the number one thing I want you to write down is what are your lead generation activities that you've done in the last 24 hours to propel your business forward? What are your ahas and what are your challenges from your lead gen that you've been doing? And then we're also going to discuss what you want to do differently in the next 24 hours. So I'm going to set our little timer for 5 minutes, kind of journal to yourself. This is meant to be really introspective. We want everybody to kind of focus on what am I doing that's working so I can do more of that, what's not working so that I can make some changes, because we want to see you ramp up and be successful fast in the business. So I'm setting the timer for 5 minutes. And when this goes off, we'll have another 5 minutes to talk about it as a group.
Email you the PDF?
Sure. Sheila.Johnson, SHEILA.
Okay.
.Johnson@kw.com. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I meant to look it up, but I was on the phone for 25 minutes.
No worries, I have it right here.
Perfect. I thought I had plenty of time, but
That's our life, right? We have time and then the phone rings.
I'm like, I'm gonna be, well,
Surprise.
I stopped by the septic inspection and he wasn't there. And I was like, oh crap. So I called him and he called.
Literally.
And he'd already been there and gone and talked to my buyer, got it all approved to, move forward, and the seller had stopped by. And anyway, so it was all great because it made my job easier, but then I had to call the other agent because the agents were in the dark. The buyer and the seller knew what was going on. Anyway, so, and then I text my buyer that I heard she talked to the guy and that I would be in contact with her later today after my appointments were over. Thank you very much. I got it.
You're welcome.
I just had an aha. I got my phone in the-
You can what?
I can take notes on the thing you just sent me with my pencil.
Nice. Fancy.
Morning.
Good morning.
Way to be tardy, Justin.
Yeah.
Way to be tardy.
Realtor hours?
Uh-huh.
Realtor.
Everybody's doing a little private exercise right now. So writing down lead generation activities they've completed in the last 24 hours, ahas, challenges, and then what are we going to do over the next 24 hours? So as soon as this timer goes off, we're going to talk about that as a group. We'll have about a 5-minute discussion on it.
Hey, did they tell you that it's only 2 hours and not 3?
Yeah, 11 to 1 is what they said.
Yeah.
I figured, when I looked over the course material, I was like, this isn't going to take 3 hours.
Most of them haven't gotten anywhere close to
The 2 hours.
finishing in 2 hours, finishing the material in 2 hours.
Gotcha. They have a lot of group discussion.
I'm sorry, you said you asked if that was the group discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mhm.
I think one of my favorite points, and I wasn't the one that thought of this, but someone else did, is just when they're asking, the instructors asking for input on what they would like out of the course, is
Mhm.
more of how to do something and less why you should do it. Because we're all
Mhm.
here, we know we need to do it, that's why we're here. Just
Exactly.
more in the weeds of how to actually
The
accomplish something.
implementation of it.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
Which I'm sure that's what this whole thing is about.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Very good. Okay, so let's just do a group discussion about what are we currently doing for lead gen activities in our business.
I'm doing open houses.
Mhm.
Also, trying to do a little bit more networking with people that have a good network, the sphere of influence and stuff, just kind of touching base and stuff. And also been kind of reaching out a little bit to, and not even talking real estate, but to prior clients and stuff and see how they're doing, to try to get my foot back in the door without being like, hey, you got a referral for me?
Right.
So that way, hopefully naturally if they hear something, they'll let me know. And then as I get a little bit more regular with contacting them, then I'll feel comfortable asking.
Okay. That's good. How about you, Michelle? What are you up to?
Right now I'm doing a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Cold calling, door knocking,
Mhm.
sphere of influence, social media, open houses.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're doing all of them.
Yeah.
That's good. Good. Anybody else over here have a comment? what you're doing for your lead gen?
So I went away this weekend to northern Missouri and stayed with some friends, and then some of my wife's family was there, and her aunt is the agent in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay,
So we discussed, referral opportunities a little bit. And then I actually had a outside referral that I had done. It was a client that I had met at an open house. They were moving here from Texas, but they didn't have an agent in Texas yet. So I was able to send an outside referral
awesome.
to Texas, and that they closed on that side today. And then we closed on Thursday for the house here. So
That's great.
anyways, the agent called just to let me know that it closed, which I knew that it was, but we both had a great experience and we're both happy with each other. So hopefully there'll be other opportunities
Nice.
to do more.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
How about you, Justin?
But everything I do has been said. Open houses, so social media game is weak, but working on it. Cold calling. What else do we do? Oh, letter writing. Write a lot of letters. Yeah, my hand hurts.
Good. Do you have any ahas? What is working really well for you?
Well, haunt I had was this weekend. And a couple weekends ago, I had a couple people that were thinking that didn't leave me their information. I asked them to sign in, but they didn't. But they had given me their address and looked at their property together. So I have a couple people I'm going to be sending cards to later today to follow up, because I have their physical address. So I figured I've never done that before. I've sent out cards before, but not to potential leads. So I thought that would be, and neither of them are ready yet. So I thought that would be an initial foot in the door that I haven't tried before.
Nice. Yeah, a handwritten note really goes a long way because nobody does that anymore. People send a text or they send an email, or they, shoot over a Facebook message, a thumbs up. But if you have a handwritten card for follow-up that shows that you took out the time and energy and effort, you could even cross-reference the to get more contact info from them
CRS.
on, yes,
Yeah, I figured that because I knew
Tax
that
data.
guy's name was Don, but I didn't
tax
know
data.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't know what his last name was, but I have his address. So,
Right.
And I really think he's for what he's doing, because he's sitting on an acre, I think he's gonna be better off selling than doing and buying than he is going to be updating what he has, what he wants
Mhm.
to do. So.
Yeah.
And that's what he was trying to figure out. And that was at Jackie's house yesterday. He's
Great.
like, I was just looking to see, because I love how this is and what it would take to turn my house into this.
Mhm.
So anyway, so
Yeah.
potential.
Is there one preferred method of lead gen that is your favorite?
Door knocking.
Why?
The percentage and quality of the leads that I get out of door knocking are much higher. In 2 hours, I can have like 7 leads that people that I've talked to, got their name and info, and in like 2 hours, 7 good leads that, I kind of, may be able to surmise their interest in it or something. Or I know somebody, and then like when you're in front of them, that's when they're like willing to give up information, That's when they're willing to tell you more about somebody else to refer them. Not, that person down there, like if you're at their door, or my aunt or uncle, or like, I found that they're much more willing to talk and like a lot more, like, I guess, robustly about it. It's
Face
not
to
just
face.
like, get off the phone.
Yep. I saw in the chat, Michael Rice was saying they door knock every day. Let me see. Where's the chat? Oh, and they bring the baby. That's no fair. That's a conversation starter. Okay, if you don't have a baby like the Rices, bring a cute dog.
You're not up on that.
Yeah, Ashley tried, they couldn't figure out how to get it.
Yeah, all we've got is these, and she was trying, but it was not working. So I have a bandana for Theo, my dog, and it says we'll sit for referrals. And so if I'm going out in my neighborhood, I'll have him wearing that, and sometimes that helps. anything just to be a conversation starter with people, right?
So you go door knocking with your dog?
I have.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've
Well,
gone.
the only thing I would think of is what if someone wanted you to like
Come in
come
and,
inside their house or see their house or
Right.
something, then that's gonna be an obstacle
sure,
there. But maybe the positive of the conversation outweighs that, and then you set up a different.
You
time
set up a time to come,
their
yeah.
house,
right. And I mean, you got to think people aren't expecting us to be at their door at that moment. So the chances
chance
of
of
them
them wanting-
inviting us in are going to be, they'll be like, let me get my house ready. Can we make an appointment most of the time?
I haven't door knocked since I first started, and I remember it was pouring down rain.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
involved and I
no.
was determined, but I didn't get a single lead out of it.
Yeah.
But door knocked since, but I have really wanted to door knock my neighborhood.
So Justin, is there a time of day that's better since you are the,
I like to go at like 4 o'clock.
late afternoon?
Yeah, when people are home.
Mhm.
And I never really gave thought to it till Michelle said that. Well, yeah, and then I noticed that when I go at 4, people are home.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, the results are better. And so I'll go today at like, I don't know, like 2:30, 3 o'clock or so. That's when I'll
Mhm.
start. And I probably won't stop until like 6 or 7 because it's so nice.
Mhm.
And like, wow, that's a lot of lead generation. Yeah, but like, what am I really doing? I mean, I'm just like out in the 70-degree weather right now. I don't have any kids or anything. Like, I
Mhm.
don't have any other, what am I doing?
So I like the idea of that because like a couple weekends ago, I had an open house and it was so packed that my brain was fried. Like
Mhm.
halfway through it, it could have had to have been hard for me to even to have reached the people because I was so overloaded with
Mhm.
so many people coming in. So with door knocking, if you're having good success taking people, you can stop between doors, take
Mhm.
notes and everything and regroup versus with open houses,
Mm-mm.
you don't get a chance.
Mhm.
But it's only a
Necessarily.
defined period of time though.
Yeah.
So you like, you do your prep game right, you caffeinate till your skull's wired, and then you're in it for
Mhm.
2 hours.
Well, we don't want me caffeinated too much.
So the Rices said they do their neighborhood. They tell them they are their neighbor and looking to meet them, see if they can assist them with anything like buying or selling, or do they need a vendor referral for some sort of service? So they're looking to add value. That's a really good way to go about doing it.
I
And-
have a question.
Uh-huh.
With a lot of neighborhoods, they have like things that there's no solicitation.
right?
So that would that work as, I mean, doesn't door knocking
But
fall
if-
into that category? But
If you're living in the neighborhood and you're just meeting your neighbors, then I feel like that's probably not going to be a violation.
well, that's what I was wondering because I know they have very strict no solicitation in my neighborhood
Mhm.
rules and stuff, and they're very funny about it. So that's why
Mhm.
I was wondering. But I have a great neighborhood.
Yeah.
And houses go just fantastically fast.
Yeah.
And they're gorgeous homes.
I would when I went, I wouldn't do a bunch of door hangers on everybody's doors because then that feels like solicitation, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just knocking to say, hey, and introduce yourself as a neighbor,
Mhm.
that's a totally different approach.
Uh-huh.
And you're not asking. Solicitation is you're trying to sell something.
Mhm.
So we're really actually looking to build relationships, right?
Mhm.
Not just selling something.
Yeah. And then maybe knock on the door, tell them that you're the neighbor, that you're a realtor, but you've got a great resource of vendors and you just wanted to see if you could be of any help. And then that doesn't feel like
Mhm.
even more or even less like a solicitation because you're literally just coming out of help that I've got this network and I'm happy to share or help in any way I can.
Exactly.
What-
Oh, and the Rices said always have your business cards with you.
Mhm.
What neighborhood? Just
I
like,
live in Valley Parks Estates in Republic. So
okay,
you know where those black and white, we call them, on our street, we call them the goth houses, because most of them are black or dark gray. Their farmhouse that Grady has listed, they're built by King, and now Cantrell Blake is building some of them.
what's it called? Something mistake?
I live in Valley Parks Estates, it's over in Republic, by Miller Park. So there's 2 sections. I live in the last couple phases, which the homes are anywhere between 3 and high 500s. And then on the other side, the homes are probably 250 and maybe 450
Mhm.
because they have vinyl and stuff versus all our side are more custom built homes with big beams and high-end finishes. So
Valley Parks Estates.
Mhm. So somebody that I know that was really good at farming, she said her approach was she would always farm two adjacent neighborhoods close to each other in proximity that would be a step up one from the other.
Mhm.
And so, you know, if you're moving from this neighborhood and you've outgrown it, now you're moving up into this neighborhood, or maybe the people here are downsizing into this neighborhood. So if you can get to know and farm those two neighborhoods in specific, a lot of times there's a lot of movement from one to the other because it's in the same school district and they like that area and they like that location, obviously, but they might want a nicer house or a bigger house. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing your door knocking activities.
so like White Oaks to Valley Park.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, Grace is going to become a through street and it's going to connect it.
Mhm. Right. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's talk about why you're here today. This is one of the most untapped sources. Honestly, I feel like a lot of us as agents really just miss out on the boat. There is a lot of money to be made in agent to agent referrals. And so figuring out how to go about doing that, how to be top of mind so that when other agents are looking to make a referral, they're actually going to bring it to you is really the most important thing. So there's going to be we're going to talk about some tools that we have, things that we can do for screening our outgoing referrals, right? Like Nathan mentioned, when we send a referral away, we're going to want to make sure that we're sending it somewhere that they're going to take good care of our people. So how do we do that? And then how do we assure the people that are looking for somebody like that on our end that we're the right person to send the referral to here as well? So this way you can build your database. And if you take good care of the clients and they have anybody else moving, obviously you're going to get repeat and referral business from the other agents as well. So this is actually a really exciting way of doing business. So far, most of you, have you all been, except I know Sheila hasn't been through the whole program, but has everybody else been doing all of the steps up to here? This is class 9 out of 11.
I've been in all of them.
Good,
Yeah. I think Justin and I have as well.
good, good.
I did go to another one.
Yes. Yeah, this is, if you will follow what you are learning in these classes and not just learn it, but actually go out and do the things, you're going to grow your business. It's just bound to happen. It's time on task over time, right? Repeating the activities that you know you need to do to be successful. And one of the big ones is lead gen. The really cool thing about this, and probably why they picked me, is I don't like cold calling lead gen. I mean, if you had a gun to my head, I suppose I would do it if I had to, but
You would consider it?
I might.
Possibly, maybe.
I
Really good.
might consider it.
And I knew for sure it was loaded.
Yeah, or I might just take my chances. I- For me, my personality is not cold calling. You know, I have no problem talking to strangers, but I need to have a specific purpose in mind when I'm doing it. But when you are talking to other agents, this is not cold calling. We're in business together, right? And we both have the same objective. We all want to help people find a house to buy, and we want to help people that need to sell and relocate. And so creating these allied partnerships, to me, is one of the very best ways of building a business. If you're not so inclined to pick up and call FSBOs and expireds when you're getting started and you need instant business. So there's a good story in here about Mary Charters. And since, did you get emailed the
Yes.
link? You've got it? Okay. So I want everybody to take a few seconds to read over Mary Charters' aha moment. And then we're going to talk about it as a group. I guess I'll know you're done when you look up at me. Okay, looks like just about everybody's done reading it. So after looking at this story, what is one aha you had from learning from Mary's example?
You can do it on a high level.
Mhm.
It can be very convenient.
Yeah, very convenient.
I thought it was interesting that on the one transaction, she split it. I'm assuming that's a 50-50 split. I had never heard of that, but I mean, I get that's a lot different scenario than what a lot of us are likely to come across, but
Mhm. Yeah. So the way I understand it, she had a client, he was doing business in another area, he was not happy. He wasn't happy with the level of service. And I can't even tell you the number of times that you'll hear this. If you take good care of people, they're like, man, I just wish I could clone you and bring you to wherever I'm going. Right. And so what she did was capitalized on that, and she found an allied resource, a partner, but she kind of still oversaw what had to happen, because what he was looking for was her level of service. That she could hire other people and she could train them to her level of service, but she also helped oversight and management of that experience, so that he was getting the same experience here as he was here, because Mary was kind of in charge of all of it. And she did $200,000 in GCI on that one project that she made in 1 year. I mean, yeah, that's huge. It takes leverage though, and it takes having a team and creating a team with the right people. And so the really cool thing about this is, as you are getting to know different agents in different areas, you can have your own little pool of, these are people that I'd love to do business with in the future. So then later when an opportunity arises for you, you know, you've got top of mind awareness about, hey, I've got the allied resource in that area. I can tell you one example for myself, and it's not a big one, but I've got a buyer, relocating buyer from Washington moving to this area, and they're not certain they want to be in Springfield, but I'm their person. So there have been other places that they have wanted to see houses, for instance, kind of interested in Lebanon. So I called Amanda Huff and I said, hey, if they decide to buy in Lebanon, let's team up and we'll work the lead together. And she's more than happy to do that. She's already FaceTimed him once from a property in Lebanon for me. And so no matter what, the client's getting taken care of. And at the end of the day, we'll figure out what the right split's going to be between us, depending on which place they end up buying. But I'm still that customer's point of contact. And then they just know I have partners in other areas of the state, and I'll get them sold and closed no matter where it is they want to buy. So anybody else have good ahas? Does anybody online have an aha from this story of Mary Charters? I'm just kind of watch the chat. And are you guys, the guys on the chat, are you hearing the comments that are being made by everybody else in the room? Or are you only hearing me talking? Oh, good. They're hearing everyone. That's good. Okay. Good deal. Okay. Anybody in the chat have an aha about Mary Charters story that we read here? I really like that she's proactive. She's actively seeking out other agents to build relationships with, so she can get insight onto how they work, and then it helps her to match customers and agents when the opportunity arises. So you don't need just one referral partner. I mean, you think about some of the places that we hear people relocating from frequently, from here or to here. We've got a lot of people coming in from California, Arizona, Texas, Chicago, and then up like Kansas City area,
We had a couple people
Atlanta.
in the last couple weekends that I've met that have been from Georgia.
I'm seeing quite a bit from Austin and like Scottsdale, Phoenix area. And so when you know that there's a certain pull for people coming from a certain area, then why not reach out to the KW agents in that area and start making allied relationships and just saying, hey, I noticed we've got a lot of movement back and forth between Springfield and Austin. And I want to get to know several really good Austin agents, because when I have a client going that way, I want to know who I can refer them to. But this takes conversation, and you kind of want to get to know them, get to know their background. Ask them how they do business. Are they a team? Do they hand things off? Do they do everything themselves? What are their operating hours? What's their ideal client? Who do they like to work with? Who do they not like to work with?
Who do you speak to get that information? Like, would somebody call here and just talk to, I don't know?
A lot of times people will call the market center team lead
Okay,
and ask. So you could call a team lead in another market center and say, especially if you have a specific client and you know what they need. Hey, I've got older clients. They're really needy. They need a lot of hand holding. They need somebody that's going to be an excellent communicator and really patient. And they prefer to deal with a female. Like, just whatever you know about your clients that's going to get them paired with the best person. So somebody in ops in the market center can often go through their database and say, I would probably recommend this, or this person.
who's that person here?
So they would probably call Tim McCall or Rachel more than likely. If somebody was calling into the market center, I bet Tim McCall would be the one that they would screen and say, and he's our
And so
TL.
To answer Justin's point, what I've done recently, whenever I actually had 3 outside referrals that I've sent to other agents recently. One was a friend moving to Kansas City, and then 2 of them were clients that I'm helping on the buy side who needed to sell, one in Texas and one in Arizona. And what I did is I went on the KW referral site in Command, and then I looked at the specific area where their home is located at, how many transactions have the different agents had in that area, and then being, I guess, a little bit biased with me being a solo agent, I wanted to send them to a solo agent, not someone that was in a big group. And so that's kind of how I narrowed it down. And then I just called and talked to the other agent and said, hey, I have a potential referral. And then I made them tell me a little bit about themselves and their business. And I want to make sure that they were a good fit, because I built a really good relationship and rapport with my client here, who is in the process of buying. And I wanted to make sure that whoever I referred them to on the sell side was going to be similar to how I thought they wanted to be interacted with.
Yep, that's perfect.
That's kind of how I went about it last night. That I went on, which I don't know if on the Bold group, and they have asked for agent referrals and stuff. So I went through and just Googled Wichita in that Facebook group. And then I came up with a list of names. Then I went to the KW Command referral thing. And then I looked up those agents, and then I narrowed it down to 3. And then I sent them all a message, and I talked to them all on the phone. And one of them, who was probably the highest recommended, she's out. And it's funny because so many people, and I was just after talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I'm on a big team, and I'll start this, and then the next person, and then the next. And I'm like, nope, that's not what we're looking for here. We're, as an individual agent, it's very important to me that my client gets a personal, that they're not handed off continually, because I have done deals with some teams that has been very frustrating, because they said, well, you need to talk to this person. This person has no idea what's going on. So, I respect teams and I like them, and some of them have it rocking, and I've had some fantastic experiences, but I've also had some where I've had to call like half a dozen people to find out somebody that knows what's going on. And I had one in Texas that I referred out to that was, it was a large team, and actually one of the large teams here referred them. They said they're fantastic. They dropped the ball, and I found them the people another, but it was embarrassing for me. Because it was like a $600,000 buy side, and the people ended up renting anyway. But the second one they loved, but they just couldn't. If they would have gotten the first house with the first agent, they would have bought, and they made a couple offers, but how the market is. So I want my clients to have the same personal treatment that I give them wherever they go.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk about what's going to make this a good training experience for you. Nathan, you mentioned that you would like to see implementation, thing like actual action points and button items, not why, but what do we do now to grow that? Does anybody else think that they have something that they really are hoping to get out of this training experience today?
More like to hear, like I called you last night because I'm like, I've never taken a class on this and I've heard of the referrals and like just even asking like up front, you know, what kind of split do you do, that type of thing, because that's always seems awkward. But it is business,
Mhm.
but it has always seemed awkward to me, you know, asking that question. But I liked how you said it, that just get it out of the way up front. Are you taking referral partners? If so, you know, what kind of split do you normally offer? And you know, the one was like 25, but you know, on a listing like this, I'll do 30%. I'm
Mhm.
like, fantastic, you're my number one since I like you.
Yes.
But I didn't know how to address those situations. And I felt from my last experience that I needed to refer more than one, because of the fact that, but it feels weird too. And so, you know, saying that, hey, you know, I want to interview you, but I don't want just you to be the only one.
Right.
So, and then how like doing the paperwork and stuff on it, you
Mhm.
know, I don't feel like the form's real user friendly.
Mhm.
It's a little bit confusing. So maybe going through that and stuff.
Talking about the forms a little bit.
Mhm.
Justin or Michelle, do you guys have anything that you're hoping to learn today, or what would make this a good training for you?
Everything that I'm learning so far, everything that I hear so far is a learning experience. So, you know, I'm ready.
Good.
I just want to hear about how you like tap into your referral. I'm sure you have a referral network, or like what the specifics are that make you so, I guess, successful. What gets like a high volume of referrals? How do you do it? Because I have a pretty good idea of how Mark does it,
Mhm.
and I think he does it like quite a bit. He says he worked primarily from referrals, but how do you do it?
Yeah, so we will talk about that. My biggest thing is it's all relationship based, right? So the more people you are in relationship with, the more likely you will be to receive a referral from them. So if you are in relationship with other agents in other states, and you think about you're also connected on Facebook, and they're seeing how busy you are, and they're hearing information, if you talk about educational pieces or you're educating your clients, if you are top of mind to them, when they have someone moving to Springfield, Missouri, they're going to think of you. And the other thing, I'll just throw this out here, is that even if people aren't relocating to Springfield, Missouri, there are a lot of people bringing money from other states to invest in Branson, Missouri. So how many of your referral partners know that you could also assist with a transaction in Branson? There's a lot of people buying vacation rentals and vacation condos. And I guess that's a story for another day, but the reality is that if you would take some time to become knowledgeable on that market, and then you could approach your sphere and other agents from other areas, you know, you could easily have that conversation about what type of return on investment people are seeing with their Branson condos. They buy it as a vacation home for themselves, and they rent it out, and somebody else can manage it. And so you may get some referrals for yourself that way as well. And then staying active in Facebook groups, especially even Facebook groups that are targeted to other agents. If you contribute in the group and you're adding value, again, you're going to be at the top of the feed and people are going to remember you. I know that Mark does that a lot with this. There's bold agent Facebook groups, and he's a part of that. And so he gets to know other bold agents from other market centers. And I've seen his name dropped frequently in some of these bold groups when somebody says, oh, do you know anybody in Springfield, Missouri? And they're like, oh, Mark Stewart. Now, they may not have done a deal with Mark Stewart, but they've engaged in conversation with Mark Stewart over time. And they know enough to know that he's a bold agent, he's in Springfield, Missouri, and he's helpful. And so that just brings it top of mind. So just think in the back of your head, in terms of agent to agent referral, how many agents am I friends with on Facebook? How many know I'm in business? I'm gonna look at the chat from Lindy. Lindy says that she's not from Springfield. She has a good referral partner in KC, where she's from. And last year they did 5 referrals together. And this year they have done 2 business together. So find the areas where you think people are moving from. You know, NAR publishes statistics on demographics and where people are coming and going from and to. And then reach out and form allied partnerships with agents in those areas. So you can go through the KW white pages. You can select names. You can try to friend them on Facebook, and you can get engaged and have conversation. You could shoot them a message after they accept your friend request on Facebook, shoot them a message and say, hey, you know, could we schedule a 30-minute Zoom, 15-minute Zoom, Zoom coffee appointment? I'd like to get to know how you run your business, because there's a lot of people coming and going from our states, and I'm looking for referral partners. So that is one practical thing we could do. So I like this point here, that it's an untapped resource. So we have this graphic here about how people find their agents, and 38% of their of how people found their real estate agent is they referred by a friend, neighbor, or a relative. That's a huge amount. So the more people that know you and that you're top of mind, the more likely that they will be to drop your name when they have somebody that they love trying to buy or sell. 22% use their previous agent. I would say that that number would be more if their agent would stay in touch with them. Because most people, when they close on a transaction, say that I would say over 80% say, yes, I'd love my agent, I'd use them again. But 5 or 7 years rolls around and they use somebody else. Why is that? Because the agent didn't stay in touch.
You don't even know their name.
Right.
They go, oh yeah, who's someone in my house?
I had a great, yeah.
2017.
Mhm.
I can't remember his name.
Right. But that's our bad. That is 100% on us. If we don't stay in touch with our people, average person knows 7 real estate agents. Who's going to get the business next time?
Wonder if they've been in touch with the most recent.
The one that we call it in flow. Like, who are they currently in flow with, right? They're having those conversations, and doesn't matter if you did a good job for them 7 years ago, they're going to deal with the person that they think of instantly at that moment. 5% is at open houses. Those will all go to Sheila. You talk to her sometimes. She's really good about closing business at open houses. Internet websites, 4%. This is interesting because there is a conglomeration of businesses out there that their entire goal is to take a piece of the pie of our real estate commission. They will get people to register on their site. They get the lead. They sell it back to us at 30% or 40%. Some are higher, but Realtor.com does it. Dave Ramsey does it. Shark Tank, they do it. Zillow does it. So, and it's just going to keep with the internet getting bigger and bigger. If we are not proactive about taking care of our people and staying in touch with them, somebody else is going to be owning our book of business, right? And so when you think about the small amount of agent to agent referrals, which is 4%, that's kind of a shame, because there's a lot more opportunity when people they're listing their house with us and they're moving out of state. If we didn't give them the opportunity to connect them with an agent where they're going, if they don't already have one, that's a shame, because we're missing out on a piece of the pie as well. And people are happy to pay for the referral. They're happy. I mean, I would pay 25% all day to Sunday to have a client just literally handed to me.
You have.
Yes. And here's the deal. It's not just that they're dropped in your lap. They're handed to you, and the other agent gives you ammunition.
It's a warm handoff.
From day one. They're like, let me tell you about their personality. Let me tell you about what you're going to go through with them. When you get an internet lead, you're learning from scratch about this family, and they may or may not open up to you, and you may not know who wears the pants in the family, who the decision maker is, how the transaction is going to go. But if you have an agent handing you this referral and they say, oh, by the way, the husband acts like he's the boss and the wife is really quiet, but ultimately she's the decision maker. Well, then how are you going to tailor those conversations when you're out shopping? So warm leads all the way.
One thing that I'll interject too,
Uh-huh.
that I had the experience of people I met at the open houses when I first started working with them, I just asked them, and they weren't ready to sell and move and all that. I just asked them if they had an agent they were working with at home, and the answer was yes. But as we got further along, I brought this topic up again, and then the answer was no. They were open to me, connecting them with someone. So that worked out well by not just mentioning it once and then putting it out of my mind.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very good point. So the majority of people that are wanting to do business, it's through referrals. 38% referred by friends, family, and neighbors. 4% referred by another agent, or they're sticking with their comfort zone. So the things that don't work great: calendars, magnets, newspapers, home book ads. Only 2% through direct mail, 3% through a reload company, which that would be, the reload company might approach you and they'll charge you 40% for that referral. But one of the greatest untapped sources is going to be other agents with people moving here. Okay, so I just jumped a page.
RELO, is that real estate lead organization?
Yeah,
Something like that, lead operation. Is that what it?
a reload company. It's corporate relocation.
Oh,
So
relocation.
corporate relocation companies are kind of their own animal. They even have additional contracts and riders that have to happen on top of our standardized contracts. And so if you get to a place where you want to help an actual reload client, you have to have certain background. You have to be doing a certain amount of volume. And a lot of times you have to be what they call reload certified. So it's a more extensive process, more hoops to jump through, a lot more paperwork, a lot more reporting. But it's usually the higher level executive homes. So the money's bigger and the 40% doesn't matter as much.
I worked with an agent one time on a reload, and it was her first time doing a reload. It was actually Mary Jo. And so she kept me in that. She's like, this is the first time I'm doing one of these and trying it out. And she told me that she was paying the 40%. And there was so many hoops and so many extra documents. And I'm thinking, how could this be worth it? Because she's not only having to get the permission from the sellers, also the relocation company, because they're technically buying it from the sellers. And then the relocation company has an extra 20 documents that you have to do. So it was interesting because she was kind of telling me as it went, we were, after the deal was closed and stuff, we went and had lunch, and it was just really interesting because she shared the experience with me, and I'm like, oh, I want to do this. She's like, I'm not sure I want to do this again either.
Yeah, the relocation companies are their own animal for sure, but I would rather deal with just an individual referral from another agent. But I really will take business if it's just handed to me. I'm not going to turn it down for sure. So Doris is actually, she's an OP in Joplin, Missouri. And I don't believe I've met her before, but there's a little article here, and go ahead and read this really quick. And then we're going to talk about it. Okay, what is your aha from Doris's story?
If someone calls and asks you to list their house, never forget to ask if they need help with the purchase of their next home.
And that she made more money on the referral percentage in California than she did listing the actual house here.
Right? Yeah, that was my big aha was, yeah, you want those outgoing referrals to states like California.
Well, so the buyers I'm meeting with at one, they're downsizing. So
Mhm.
what they're listing and gonna be listing, if I can get that referral fee, will almost be as big as their buy side here.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, referral fees are no joke, 25%, and you didn't have to do any of the work other than just play matchmaker. And, follow up and see how things are going. But
Well, and one of the outside referrals that I did was a friend that was moving from here to Kansas City. And I just started talking to him about how I could connect him with an agent up there, and he was fine with that.
mhm,
So I think even that might be something that people don't always think about, is make sure that people in your sphere know that if they're going to move even outside the area, that you can still help assist them
mhm.
get with a great agent.
Yes. Yeah. The really neat thing, and this is what I love about Facebook, because you were tapped into so many people, even in other parts of the country. So if you make sure that everybody in your Facebook world knows that you are their go-to realtor, and it does not matter where they need to do business in the world, they need to come and talk to you because you can connect them with the right people. And then what we have at Keller Williams, we have an international real estate company, #1 in the world. So you can help somebody buy a vacation villa in Italy for that matter. I mean, just wherever we have KW agents, you can get them connected. So as long as your sphere understands that, that's the most important thing. And practically speaking, the way to accomplish that is you're going to be providing value, providing information, going on your Facebook and talking about things that are relevant with regards to the real estate market. People watch, they pay attention, and you can just say the greatest compliment I could receive from you is a referral. And if you have real estate needs, feel free to call me and talk. I mean, I would say probably 4 to 5 inquiries a year from people I know on Facebook, people that are out of state, that reach out to me and say, I'm thinking about doing this, but I really wish you were in my area. But since you're not, I just wanted to pick your brain first. Well, hello, they're raising their hand saying, help me because I trust you. So how much better of a job can you do in helping them by finding and selecting a good agent to send them to? One of my longtime clients, and she sold several investment properties with me, called me when they had a family, they had to sell a family-owned duplex, and she lost a family member in another state. I was able to connect them with a really good real estate group up there, and she just raved and raved about them. And they took such excellent care of her through the entire process that now I know who I'm going to be sending business to from here on out because they really impressed her with the service. And she just went on and on about how professional they were. So always stay in touch with your people. So the directions on our exercise that they had given us here was that we should take a few minutes. We're going to take 5 minutes, kind of look through your database, or even on your phone, and figure out how many real estate agents you have. Maybe not the ones here just only in Springfield, but how many agents do you have in your database? And then take a look at how many of them you're touching on a regular basis, and figuring out what percentage of your business might come from agent referrals. So just take 5 minutes to look through your numbers and kind of put that in your head as, okay, am I happy with this number? And if not, how do I grow that? turn the cube off. Alrighty, so this is one of those things where it's really important to have an organized database, and I'm kind of like chuckling at myself because my database is not organized. So this is a good reminder for me when I'm teaching this class to go, hey, how much more purposeful can I be in my business if I know my numbers? If I looked at my KW command, I don't have my tags in place like I should. But this is an ideal place. If you're talking with these agents, input their names, all their information, and every contact you have with them into command, and create tags for them in command. Think about how amazing it would be if you have a network of agents all over the country, and then you have something that goes really well for you in your business. Why not send out a video email, a bomb, or a note with some attachments to all of these agents and say, hey, hope you guys are doing well. I just found something that worked great in my business and I wanted to share it with you. Feel free to take this marketing piece that I've made and duplicate it and put your own spin on it. So you're adding something of value. You're giving something to other agents in your database. If you have them in your command and you have tags on them, it's going to be really simple for you to run a campaign like this. And there are a couple agents really doing this at a high level through Maps. So the Jenny Wallach group is one of them out of Oklahoma. And she's awesome. She started a Facebook group called Your Journey with Jenny, where she teaches and educates people. And she sends out emails frequently with like, here's what the Wallach group is doing. You may want to do this in your neighborhood. Here's what we're doing to take care of our customers and our referral base. It's nice. It adds value. I always look forward to getting Jenny's emails. And if I have somebody going to Tulsa, who am I going to send my referral to?
Janae.
Exactly.
So she created the Facebook group specific to other agents, specific to getting referrals.
Correct.
That's genius.
Correct. Yeah. And then she teaches classes. And so people pay for her Maps classes as well. And Jenny is out of production pretty much now. I mean, her group is doing the business because she has so much inbound referral-based business. But she did it by volunteering to come teach. She's been in Springfield and taught at our market center before. So she teaches classes. She will do the Facebook group, and then she has a database, an email database, in which if everybody's tagged in command, it's easy to send out an email or a postcard or a mailer to just your database. So the more purposeful you can be about that, the better. So that's how to grow more agents in your database.
What's her last name? Jenny what?
Wallach, W-O-L-E-K.
W-O-L-E-K.
Another one that I follow is Deanna Watson, D-E-A-N-A, Watson, out of the Signature Group. And she is in, I think, one of the Virginias, somewhere back east. And she has a big business, and she built her business up on Facebook, growing through social media referrals. And she sends out an email once a month saying, we did it, you learn from it. And she talks about a mistake that their group had made, a faux pas, a problem, something that they had to work through, right? But she's giving value to the other agents that follow her and saying, hey, here's a mistake that we did and we learned from it, and here's what we did to fix it. Hopefully it doesn't happen to your business, but let me help you out. So if I have somebody moving to her neck of the woods, whose group am I going to call? So really think about if you can establish yourself as the go-to person in your area and continue to add value to other agents, it's going to be a lot easier to send and give those referrals. Out of curiosity, does anybody in here actually know how many other agents they have in their database?
135.
You go, girl.
It's old. But
Yes.
I'm not in contact probably with any of them.
Right.
So I was just thinking, I
Mhm.
contacted a couple, I put a couple extra on there last night and contacted them,
Mhm.
but other than that.
Good.
Justin, is this the reason Mark continues to go to so many bolds, is just to build referral?
Heck yes.
Mhm.
Heck yes. Mark goes to Bold and the instructor knows who he is
Mhm.
That's awesome.
and talks about him like, yeah, we all see Mark's name tag over there. Looks like an iPad strapped to his chest. Like just like that, like because they've had conversations.
That's
He's
cool.
known.
Good for him.
Well, and that's why he goes to Bold in other areas,
Because
right?
he gets referral partners.
And if
I
you,
just had an aha.
uh-huh.
And if he knows
I'm
you,
like,
he
who
won't
can
sit
sit
by
through
you.
it that many times?
If he knows you, he won't sit by you because he wants to know new people.
Yep. Mhm.
He's like, no, I want a table where I don't know anybody.
Yep. You get to know people.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you can do that. There's so many, or family reunion or mega camp, you know? I mean, in my head, I'm going, man, how many business cards did I pick up at the last event that I attended? And what did I do with them? If we're not purposeful, there's a
Yeah.
reason we're collecting these business cards,
Yeah.
right? We need to put, just like we do with the public, when we get a new contact in our database and we put them on a 36 touch, what are we doing for our agents? Are they on our 36, a separate 36 touch program? So that's an important one to think about. So
Do you have a collection of cards somewhere that you have collected somewhere? That
probably boxes and boxes of cards.
do you have a VA or?
I'm gonna be getting a VA. Yeah, that's my big thing is when you get busy with your business and with your referrals, then your focus becomes focusing on the people that you're taking care of. So some of this other stuff, if you don't have a back end person implementing and putting systems in place for you, then it'll get difficult. But when you're just getting started, if you can build your system from here moving forward, every time you meet a new person, they go in your command database and you know what you're entering. If you do it one at a time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
When you get to a place where you've got thousands of people, then it becomes overwhelming. So start from the beginning and tag people. The tags in command are amazing because you can filter your contacts based on the tags. So you can have an in-area agents and you can have out-of-area agents. You can have an in-area agents that are members of other brokerages. What are conversations like that gonna be versus conversations with other KW agents, right? Growing your profit share tree. Okay, so is anybody that is on chat and peek here? Yes, and Michael Rice had a good point. If we know people that are not part of KW, we could invite them to classes like this. So we're always looking to add value, whether we're adding value to our customers, we're adding value to other agents, other market centers. And as long as we're coming from contribution and helping people, they're going to think of us when they need to do business. Okay. Why tap in? So I liked this part a lot. Why would we take the time to work this untapped resource of giving and receiving referrals? What are the benefits to receiving a referral from another agent?
We say this with our buyer's presentation, the promise, right? The promise script. You guys all familiar with the promise?
Yes, but I don't remember what it is. I remember, I think the promise script was in bold or ignite, one of the others, but it's been a minute.
So it's a way to preface and set expectations with your client when you're doing like a buyer's presentation of, when we meet, I'm going to tell you about the promise. So you say, hey, when we meet, before we even meet, I'm going to tell you just what you mean to me and what I mean to you. And then the promise is two things. It's that you're going to write me an online review, that my service is so good that you'll recommend your friends, family, all that. And then that you'll write me a referral. And then in the script, and if you really think about it, a referral is the best compliment I can receive is not primary, secondary, but the third person recommendation saying, hey, go to them. So it's referrals speak louder. And when you ask for it in the promise, it speaks louder than anything you could ever say or do personally. What somebody else says and thinks about you. And so it's in the promise. And we hear that every day because we read the scripts. Michelle and I read that every day before. And so it's like, we're on the referral game. We just don't know how.
Exactly. So one of the nice things about receiving the referral is it's a warm lead, right? People are much more likely to take what you have to say seriously and accept you as the authority, especially in the crazy market that we're in right now. If someone they trust said, you need to listen to Sheila, you need to listen to Nathan, he knows what he's talking about. He helped me through X, Y, and Z, therefore I know he's going to help you. So then Nathan can come from a place of authority when he's having that conversation and having the difficult things that need to be said. We're entering into a multiple offer situation, and here's what this needs to look like, because it was a warm handoff. But strangers may or may not trust you in the beginning, that in fact, I would suspect that most people don't trust us just by nature of the profession, unless they get to know us, until they get to know us, and or if a friend or family member or someone they trust has recommended us to them. Otherwise, they think, oh, they're just out to make a sale, right? And that's just because of the reputation the industry has earned over time. And so until they get that positive affirmation that that's not how we do business, we're really out for their best interests, we've got a battle, and it takes time to prove it. So you get that instant credibility with your buyer or seller based on that referral. That's huge. That's worth the 25-30%. What have on referrals, what have people been paying? For me, it's typically 25%. Are you experiencing anything different than that?
There was one that I had a listing, I had the buy side, I sent the listing out and I asked them for 30%. And I kind of felt greedy in doing that. They were fine with it, but the other two I've done were both 25%.
That's kind of how I felt when she's like, well, I could give you 30 because, it was a land listing and it's gonna be something that she's telling me, she's like, we're gonna have tons of offers on this. This is gonna be crazy. The house was built in 2016. Yeah. This will go in a hot minute. And I said, and she's like, I can give you 25%. She's like, or I'll do 30%. And so then the next agent, I was like, well, I had another agent that was willing to give me 30% because the fact that it will be an
Fast
under
sale.
contract, overnight. So she's like, well, I'm gonna do 25%. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'll suggest them both because I want my client to
Be able to pick.
Yes, exactly. So
So that's an interesting concept. I had not even thought about that. So you're saying you have multiple agents and you just tell the client, here's multiple
I'm
options
like,
for you?
so I've got a few people in the area and I touched base with them and I narrowed it down to these two. And I think both of these would be a good fit. I have a couple other ones, but I think for your personality, these are going to be the ones that you're going to like. Like one of them grew up 10 minutes from where they're at. They're an hour out of Wichita. And the one grew up 10 minutes away and just moved back a year ago. And she has a $650,000 property on 10 acres under contract. The other one lives like halfway between Winfield and Wichita. And she has she's the team lead, but she sent me 6 different listings of $1.5 to $2.5 million listings with amazing drone footage and video and like fantastic marketing. And she's the one that says this will sell in a hot minute. I'll go ahead and give you 30%.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one is like, yeah, I'll only do 25%, but she's on the team. She's not the team lead.
Gotcha.
So, but I did both of them. The other one that I said no on was she starts with them, then hands them off. And these people are about the personal touch. The fact that they stayed at my open house for almost 2 hours tells you they're about the personal touch. So
What was your client's reaction when you gave them multiple
I'm meeting
options?
with them at 1.
Oh, okay.
So after you see me leave the office upstairs, you can ask me.
Okay. I'm interested to hear that because my approach was just that I'll find you an agent, I'll do all the legwork, I'll figure out who's a great fit for you. And it's almost like that. It just begs that you're only giving them one person. But I like your approach
I am.
because
That's how I
if-
am.
Yeah,
Because if you give them two options and they have one option and it doesn't go well, they're a lot more likely to come back and then connect with that second agent. Whereas if my thought is I connect them with one and it doesn't work out, they may just be gone and now I don't get a referral.
I
Yeah.
had that, I had just a horrible experience last year. And it was luckily it was my cousin who was gonna be buying. But if it'd been anybody else, I would have just been crawling in a hole and just wanting to hide. Because it was such a bad experience. And I mean, this team was, I mean, top producer in Houston area in the Woodlands. And, you know, but I feel like I probably didn't get, because it was not coming from a high-end team referral who had referred it to me. They said, these people are awesome, whatever. I felt like I wasn't who they gave me to in their team. I wasn't getting the same quality services that other team would have. They would have
gotcha.
jumped on it instead of, oh, well, they went to the answering service and then went to this and then they kept canceling whatever. And there was a couple houses we didn't get to see and went under contract, which we had plenty of time to see them.
Mhm.
And I was viewing the houses with them,
Yeah,
you know, because I was down there, but it was just totally dropped. One of them, I actually had got the listing agent to let me into the house. They gave me the code and they said, you know, we can write up the offer if need be. I'll have my buyer's agent do it, you know.
yeah,
And that's the one that actually was Keller Williams' agent. And we just started chatting and she's like, yeah, just go show the house. And she's like, I'm comfortable with you guys. I talked to the sellers and then we started working with their buyer's agent Claudia, which she's amazing and, you know, totally night and day.
mhm,
So, yeah,
How
I
did
just
you
was
get-
really embarrassed.
yeah,
How did you get in a lockbox?
She
in
gave me a
another-
code for the door, you know, because it had the
Oh,
code
okay.
in the lockbox. And she's like, you know, I talked to my sellers and I actually have my license in Texas. I just don't have it with a brokerage. So I need to figure out how I want to take that.
you have to take off.
Yeah, I'm coming today, but I have to go.
No, it's fine.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming, Michelle.
You're
We'll see you
welcome.
later.
Tim McCall told me that if he had to start back over and be a new agent again, that all he would do is lead generate. And he said, you know, if he had a client that was a, you know, a 1 point whatever luxury client, he would just take the lead because he knows they're going to want a lot of hand holding. They're going to want to make very, very, you know, well thought out and planned decision. And he's like, I don't have time for that. I'm new. I want to lead generate. So I'm just going to hand it off to Steve Cox. Steve Cox deals with a lot of high-end clients. He's in
Interesting.
that world, blah, blah, blah. Take the 50% split, keep on lead generating. And I
Huh,
go, you do that? And he goes, yeah, because I'm trying to turn over, you know, 13 others right there, not just the one. And Steve Cox is going to go, well, heck yeah, you've already got it, you know, hand off right there. And we do the introduction and that's it. So
Yeah.
if, you know, Tim's willing to do that on a 50%, and I pretty much believed him. I don't know what his like history says, but
mhm,
like there's got to be other agents that operate like that too, where
mhm.
they just want to stay in their lead generation lane and then let everything else get handled.
And then there's agents like, I hate lead generating. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
When I put my mind to it, I'm good at it, but it's not my cup of tea.
That was my
So
first.
I love working with clients. I
Yes.
love working with first-time home buyers and I love higher end clients because the fact that they're type of properties I would be looking at.
Mhm.
And then I love, like, I was drooling over this house with green and red carpet the other day. It was an investor's dream, which
Mhm.
I wonder what it went under contract for and I saw it went under contract.
Yeah, she didn't tell me the amount, but I think she had like 50 inquiries and offers.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, you know, but so I like working with the clients and spending more time with that because I'm about personal service, client, you know, working with the clients. That's what I enjoy.
I'm with Sheila. I think that if your goal was starting out and you just want to make a bunch of money and you're willing to, I don't mean this disrespectfully to anyone, but you're going to turn yourself into like a vacuum cleaner salesperson where you're just going to
Lead
be
generation.
Turn and
lead generate all the time. And that's what you want. And you want to make as much money as quick as you can. That's probably the best approach.
Sure.
For me, I'd rather make less money and actually enjoy
Enjoy
what
what
I'm
I'm
doing.
doing.
And I don't mind the fact that we all have to do lead generation activities, but I don't want to just only be a lead generation person and not actually, I want to enjoy, like you said, I want to enjoy the fact of what I'm
process.
actually doing and the
Yes.
process of selling a home and all that.
Mhm.
There's so much satisfaction at being at the closing table with the somebody that didn't think they could do it. And like, I met this agent, I say met, I hadn't seen her in about a year and a half. That I helped her and her husband buy a house with USDA. They literally were out of pocket $10 at the closing table. And that they had their inspections, go to closing, everything. They were out the pocket $10. And they didn't think they were going to be able to buy. And I'm like, I think we can do this. And we made it happen. Well, she just got her real estate license. And she was like, had me crying at my open house in front of other people. And she's like, you changed my life. She's like, we were in such a bad situation and we needed this was life-changing. She's like, and I want to do that for other people. And I'm like bawling my head off. But that's the kind of clients, I love that. So
Yeah, it's all about the relationships. And honestly, cold calling other agents in other states is fun because you're making partnerships. They're not going to hang up on you. They're going to be like, great, tell me about your business. Now you tell me about your business. And, you can chat about the difference in markets and what are you experiencing here? And how are you overcoming this or that? So you're making these relationships. You have a partner now that you're learning from, and you're going to get these good, nice, hot, warm leads that they're going to tell you all the insights about your customer's personality that's going to help you to close the sale for the people when they get here. So to me, this is like a no-brainer. We all should be spending way more time cultivating our agent relationships. There's a little graph here on page 12 that talks about the pros and cons of receiving referrals. So our pros, we get a ready customer. We get to keep at least 70% of the commission, 75%. The customer gets taken care of. Now you've got an opportunity to do more business with them in the future. They're one of your Mets. They go in your database. Now you have access to them, their friends, their family, and any referrals that they are willing to give you. And you have now a referral partner that's happy with you, that might send you more business. And we talked about it, the credibility that's already established with that customer because of the referral. The cons on the receiving referral side, a con is we're going to be paying for that referral, 15, 20, 25, 30%. What might also be a con of receiving a referral for someone?
we're receiving it.
Well, yeah. So you've received a referral. Somebody sent you the referral.
If
And
they set up unrealistic expectations.
okay. Yep.
There are horrible clients that you've not yet vetted all the way.
Yeah.
So I had one lender, the only referral he ever sent me, and I could have killed him for it, was an old lady, and she just wanted attention. She
Uh-oh.
didn't want, and I kept on trying to leave. And finally I was like, I have an appointment, I can't stay longer. But I was close, I was there for like 3.5 hours. But the first couple hours we were talking business and I thought everything was good to go. And then she starts backtracking and I'm like, what the heck? And then I just realized she was just, she had no intention. And I think the lender was just trying to
Pass it off.
You pass her off and either get her to get her to commit or,
Yeah.
Just a cut bait.
Michael Rice said, what if the client just doesn't like you? That could be a con if you just don't gel with the customer when you receive them. So here's some things to think about. If we're willing to accept the referral, here are some things that we have to be willing to do. Be responsive. Somebody gives us a referral and we don't follow up. Ouch. That's no good. We need to love to work with the buyers. If somebody's sending us a buyer, if they say, can I send you this referral? If we don't intend to get them under contract, then don't accept the referral. But if we make that commitment, yes, I'm going to take care of your person, then we really need to be following up on doing what we say we're going to do for that person. The other thing that we're going to need to be able to do is communicate and over communicate with the agent that referred the business to us. So keep them informed every step of the way. Some people don't like that. I have to be accountable to somebody else about what I'm doing with a customer. So that could be, some people could consider that a con. Like, I've got to keep somebody updated on what's going on with the customer.
No, I appreciate that because like I had my clients that were under contract down in or Alabama, Louisiana, somewhere. It wasn't a referral. I came in the picture after they already listed. And I had no idea that we got close. They got close last week. I had no idea that their financing fell through. The lender decided they didn't want to finance on the house, that we're
Mhm.
buying their house and we're contingent on closing. However, the buyers were able to pay cash.
Mhm.
So it closed, but I didn't have any idea of any of this.
Mhm.
And I had reached out to the agent, but they were a nightmare.
Yeah. So that adding an additional person to the transaction, a different personality, and especially if a lot of times the referral is, this is my mother, this is my brother, this is my sister, this is a family member of the agent. I would say one of those cons is that sometimes the people that got referred to you are going to consider them, the person who made the referral, more the authority than they will consider you to be the authority. And so they may call them and bounce ideas off of them before talking to you. So I usually have this conversation with the other agent saying, hey, in order for me to do the best job possible, if the client reaches out to you directly, I need you to do two things for me. You're welcome to have that conversation, but I need you to keep me in the loop on the communication that's happening. And if at some point the customer is complaining or they don't feel like I'm taking care of their needs, I need you to keep me in the loop on that as well, because here are all the things that I do try to do to deliver a 5-star customer experience to my clients. If I don't know there's a problem, I can't fix the problem. So because they may run to that person, they may be frustrated because they're not getting under contract, but the reality is our market is what it is,
Yeah, she like asked all kinds of questions, and it's funny that you text me, because I had told her, I was like, I
Yep.
reran the comps. I said, just to be sure. And
Yeah.
I like totally was like, she is 100% on. She's
Mhm.
doing everything in this market that can be done.
Yeah.
I was like totally, building confidence in
Mhm.
there. And it's funny because you text me and I'm like, we just had this exact same conversation.
Yes.
And it felt weird having the conversation with her because
Mhm.
she was your client, but I wasn't
Yeah.
doing anything besides saying you're dead on.
Yeah.
So
And we also need to remember that we are, as soon as we close, we're going to get that referral fee paid. So we don't want them to have to come to ask us for their money that we owe them as well. Okay, so let's talk about, that was receiving referrals. What about giving referrals? Pros and cons on giving referrals. The pro, obviously, we're getting money and we didn't have to do the work. But what might a con of giving away the referral be?
downline referrals
Mhm.
from that person.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're handing off our person from our network to somebody else in their network. So now, once they're gone out of our database and they are belonging to this person, more than likely they're going to continue giving their future referrals to that person. So,
I mean, if, people buy vacation houses in out of Atlanta, like yours, I mean, so I don't, like, if they want to be based out of Springfield because of the affordable living and have a vacation house in Atlanta or whatever, like I still don't see, I mean, I don't know how often that happens because most people buy property to move, I think.
sure.
Well, I also don't see it as a downside, because what you described could happen if you refer them out. It could happen if you don't refer them out. If you just decide to put your head in the sand and not send someone a referral to where else they're going or whatever, and they find a great agent on their own, you got nothing, you got no
Exactly.
referral fee, and they still could create a great relationship with the other agent.
So what I was thinking of is Amy and I have a deal going right now. She had a hot little property that had multiple offers. She didn't feel like she could represent the buyer and be true to her seller. It wasn't in their best interest, so she referred him to me.
Oh, I see.
However, he thinks I'm awesome and his
Mhm.
mom thinks I'm awesome, and they have ideas of maybe doing investment properties. So now they've been working with me and I will get that down the line.
Mhm.
That's where.
I could see if
Yeah.
it was someone that you referred either in the immediate area or like to Branson or somewhere close, you could
Mhm.
risk
Yeah.
losing that relation. I can see.
Yep. Yeah. So the thing is you need referral partners, because we cannot always service all the leads that come our way. So we need to have trusted people that we know are going to close the deal and do the right thing by the client. in order to be able to do the handoff. For me personally, and I know that not everybody feels this way, but when I'm representing a seller in today's market, if it is going to be a multiple offer situation, I will not practice dual agency. It doesn't feel like, for me personally, I cannot adequately represent the needs of my seller by being impartial with comparing offers if I've got an offer in the till. So I will, if it's gonna be multiple offers, I will refer over that buyer to someone else and let them throw their offer in and just give us your highest and best. Do the best you can by the client. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, but my goal is to help my seller. So I
So
have,
explain to me a little bit how that would work in practice.
okay,
Like, you don't have to talk specifically about your transaction there, but I mean, like, so you had, say you had a listing, you have an open house, for example.
yes.
You meet a buyer, they want to put in an offer, and you're gonna refer that to another agent. Are you getting 25%? Are you getting 50%? Are you not getting any percent?
It depends on what you have set up with the agent. So for instance, on this one, I believe we did a 50% because I had the conversation with the agent. I got them paired with a lender. I worked on getting them pre-qualified. And then once their loan qualification was all done, they just said, I need somebody to put the offer together for me. So I called Sheila and she's like, yeah, I'll take that on a 50-50 split all day to Sunday,
Yeah,
you
so
know?
I just showed up at the house, showed him, we wrote an offer, didn't get it, but she had another one. We were able to get it off market for a USDA buyer at $140,000
Mhm.
and get him a property right before the interest rates skyrocketed.
Yep.
So, it was a win-win on both sides because, it wasn't a whole lot of time. I wasn't showing multiple properties or anything. And we closed Friday.
So you're saying that you had a buyer and you knew they wanted to make an offer on a property you already had listed. You went ahead and did the legwork of getting them pre-qualified and all that during that same interval. Once you knew it was a great warm lead, it's already pre-qualified, ready to go, then you're ready
Yes,
to.
I
hand it
called
off.
Sheila and said, hey, I have a buyer that's ready to write on a property that's in a multiple offer situation, and I don't feel like I can do that impartially. Would you like to take it over? She says, absolutely. So, I mean, that's why you need to know people in your area and your market center too.
And I gave several land listings to Amy last year when I was out in Texas for a few months. And then she got those and then got another listing off of it, which I think you just mostly did the paperwork, and you still gave me a referral fee off of it. So I had this deposit in my checking account. I'm like, where the heck did this come from? I'm like, and then I find out she's giving me a referral fee off of one that it was a referral off the referral. So she's awesome.
But that's a good segue into the next question is
Yes.
how, like, is that normal that, like, if say you refer, or I don't know, whoever referred a client out and that transaction's done and closed and you paid the referral and then that client turns into another transaction, is that common, or you just did that because
Usually-
you have such a great personal relationship?
So usually once the person closes, like they own that business, and what they do down the road, they don't necessarily owe you more, if that makes sense.
That's kind of how I
In
would
our
think of it.
situation, it's
Yeah.
family. And it was family listing some lots in a development they had.
Mhm.
And then it
And
was
she-
another family member that was selling their house. And
Yeah.
since they said they knew.
And
I
they're
had
all
surgery-
related to Sheila.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That makes sense.
I'll send you a referral fee on it. Yeah.
She didn't even talk to me about it. She just
Yeah.
did it and I get this unexpected check. I'm like, well, this is higher than the land listings. What's going on here?
Bank error in your favor.
Mhm. Yes.
Awesome.
Michael Grice made a comment. He said, we're a reflection of the other agent too. So we have to remember that. So if it goes south, then they might not like us or refer us business in the future. It can tarnish our reputation. So we just have to remember.
That's one of the points why I like Sheila's thought about saying, hey, it really came down to two people and here's the pros and cons of both, because if it did sour with one person,
You have
They
a
would
backup.
trust
You gave
you
them
to go
both of
back
them and you said,
Mhm.
here, you see which one you feel is gonna be the best fit for you.
Yes.
That way, if they choose the one and it doesn't work out so well, you're like, well,
Mhm.
you're giving them the
Let's
opportunity to
pivot.
interview more than one person.
Yes, so on responsibility of giving referrals, you'll like these points, Sheila. It says if you give referrals, you need to plan carefully. Number one, we're going to interview the client and interview the other agents, which we talked about. thoroughly understand their needs, interview the agents to find who the right personality is, who's going to fill that need the best. We also want to communicate with that other agent what level of customer service we expect out of them and what level of communication we expect back. So how much do we want them to keep us in the loop? And then we have to be good about our follow up with the customer, follow up with the agent. When we follow up with the customer and we're telling them so-and-so from here recommended that we work together, I also plan on keeping them apprised of everything that's going on in the transaction. Since they gave us the referral, I owe that to them. If the client then at that point says there are some personal confidential things that I'd prefer you not share with them, that's a conversation to be had, right? So we don't want to overshare, but we want to make sure that we're keeping them informed of the progress of the transaction.
So like the one that I'm going to be doing here in a few minutes, it's kind of reversed because usually you get the listing, you refer the buy side out, but I'm getting the buy side and I'm going to be referring the listing side out, and they have to sell their home to have the cash to buy their next home.
That's what
So I
mentioned.
want everything there.
To
I
go
want super
smooth.
great communication. I want to go smooth because I have one under contract to buyer right now that literally their agent told them, oh, for inspections, they asked for $7,000 worth of repairs, did not give them any kind of report, didn't tell them what it was for. And the agent says, oh, you should just pay that. This sounds fair on a $500,000 house. Yeah. And I'm like, you need to call their broker.
Mhm. Yeah, so keeping you informed is super important, because a lot of times when we have that buy sell situation, I've got one in Washington State, they referred me the buyer out here. He's getting ready to list the house. When he called, he said, you can't buy something until they've sold this one. This one's going to sell like that. So the juggling of the buy sell transaction, you need allies and partners that you're going to communicate really well to facilitate a seamless move for these clients coming from another area. So follow up is expected. Let's see here.
One of the things that I'd like for you to touch on, and this may be coming up, is more of how you're actually cultivating relationships that you haven't already built. Like, are you finding people on command and proactively trying to reach out and let them know that you want to be partners with them? You know, and if that's coming up, then don't let me.
No,
derail
it's
the
good. So
conversation.
when I do the events like Mega Camp or Family Reunion, I try to be really purposeful about collecting business cards, reaching out, sending notes, friending on Facebook, and staying in touch that way. I also down the road would like to do more of this. Send emails, send mailers, send video emails. Like, you need to do things to be staying top of mind awareness with these people as a referral partner. So I'm learning a lot just from being able to teach the class too. Like, oh man, I need to be doing this, this, and this if I want to get more referral business.
So most of your referral business has just been going to those big events and collecting cards and giving out cards.
And keeping not just that, like keeping yourself, your profile on the KW white pages up to date. If there's hobbies or interests or things that you are good at, that you enjoy doing, if there's a type of client that you're big on serving. And some people like Brian Fisher, he's very much veteran business, and everybody knows that he wants the vet business. So things like that, and then people that are going to be looking for somebody with that sort of a resource. Oh, I want to send my business to somebody that is also a veteran. Well, they look at his profile and he's obviously got it all on there, So people tend to do business with people that they are similar to. And so the more information that you have on your KW white pages and your profile, more likely it is that you're going to get a referral for a client that they're like, oh, this is a similar fit. This is going to be a good personality fit.
How many referrals do you think that you do in a year's time?
Just from other agents?
Yeah, either someone sending someone to you or you sending someone out to someone else.
Yeah, I would say between 2 and 5 outbound a year, and probably at least 3 or 4 inbound a year on an average. And that's without me being super purposeful about it. So some of these things that we've discussed here, I'm like, I really need to be doing this, and I need to be doing this.
So you just
to even
kind of
more.
stumble upon your referrals. They're serendipitous referrals. They're not, you like passively get them and pass them off. You're not actively engaged in it.
So the active engagement is really the Facebook conversations, honestly, and commenting on their posts and liking the things that they're doing, engaging, having conversations with them about things that are happening in their market.
So one at the Bolt class that I took, or the first Bolt class I took, I met a guy named Trip Dunham, I think was his last name. And so like second partner I found in Wichita, he referred her in the Winfield area because he lives in Kansas City. And I had met him, we talked, we chatted. It was, I respected the guy and thought this would be a great person in Kansas City, but he's currently doing a deal with this one agent and he said that she was fantastic. So it's almost a referral from a referral. That
Yeah.
I respected his opinion. So I called her or I sent her a message and she called me this morning exactly when she said she was going to. And that was the one thing, the one girl called me like 45 minutes later after she said she was going to call me last night, the one that I didn't like. So
I think that, to me, that's always so big, just in real estate, but in just else, if you just say you're gonna do something, then you better make sure you do it. And if you're not gonna do it, don't say you're going to do it.
Right.
That's my pet peeve as well. It's like, you said you were gonna do something, and you didn't do it.
I'd rather under promise and over perform than the other way.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So both giving and sending and receiving referrals, definitely there's plenty of money to be made. Oh, Michael Rice wants to know what are the KW white pages. So I think it's mykw.kw.com. And it is a directory of Keller Williams agents. So if you don't know your login on it, I would reach out to Nicole or Landon and they can help direct you to your link for your white pages. And then just go in and fill your profile information. You can add a photo. There's a whole about me section, do a little write-up, talk about what your areas of expertise are, types of clients you like to service, and what areas you're most looking to receive referrals in.
I'm gonna go tell Ashley upstairs that I'm down here, so if my
Okay.
clients arrive early,
They can text you. Okay. Okay. So mindset and mind share. Just think of it this way. We've talked about it being top of mind awareness, but the more people know about you and think of you, they're going to think of you when they have a referral to send to Springfield, Missouri. So the material said it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And you may be getting referral business down the road from somebody that you may be friends with this person in this market center, and you're so top of mind with them that when an agent in their office says, hey, I have somebody moving to Springfield, Missouri, or somebody wants to buy in Branson, Missouri. Do you know anybody? They're gonna be like, yep, I got the person for you. Right? I know that's how Mark gets a lot of his business because he's done so many bolds and so many people. People think Mark Stewart, Springfield, Missouri, right? And so it's that mind share. You want people to be, you want to be memorable. So they have an exercise in here, and I think this is a really important one to do, even though we're getting short on our time frame.
I need to leave as well.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's all good. Do this at home. Make sure you do this. Write down what's unique about you. The things that make you you, that will make other people want to do business with you. Those should all be incorporated in your white pages and your social media platform, so that the more people get to know who you are as an individual, the more likely they're going to be to send you business. So spend some time writing you down, thinking about what's unique about me. Years in business, specialties, training, languages. What's my background in business prior to becoming a realtor? Hobbies, school. Do I have a motto, a catchphrase? Am I a dog lover? And then what charities do I support? And what things are important to my family? And what do we like to do on vacation? All of those things could be reasons that people want to do business with you in the future, because they're like, that's my kind of guy,
do you have a spiel, like when you get a referral, do you do that? Like, do you like have like a pretty standardized thing that you run down, like, well, a little bit about myself, and then you just, it's like a script that you just pull right out, you know?
I do not have a script. No.
Because I can tell you 100 bajillion times that I've been sitting there and I listen to marketing. Well, I've been in the business for 18 years,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. And if I know one thing, I can tell you this, blah, 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 like the
Yeah.
same, you know, and that's like his referral thing. And I'm like,
Sure.
oh yeah, like cue the referral script, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it works. It works. I'm not, I mean, I love scripts. I think they're
Yeah.
fantastic and powerful. It's just like that's kind of what this is encouraging. It sounds like
Mhm. Yeah.
put together your
Mhm.
snapshot.
Well, for me, when somebody wants to hand me a referral, it's almost going to be less about me and more about, am I going to fit the needs of their client? So I would be asking questions.
Yeah.
If they call me and they say, I've got so-and-so moving from here, you know, yes, I'm going to tell them like how long I've been in the business, but then I'm going to be asking questions. Tell me a little bit about your client. I want to make sure we're a good fit. If I'm going to say yes to working with them, I want to make sure I can deliver. So what's their personality like? Are they aggressive enough to listen to my direction in today's market on the buy side of things for me to be able to get them under contract? Like, let's talk about this, because we want to deal with people that are ready, willing, and able to buy or sell, and make sure that we're a good fit for them and that they're going to accept us as the authority on things. And, you know, when the other agent's like, listen, I've got your back, and if they say anything, I'm going to be coming in behind saying, you really need to trust her. She's the expert in the area. She knows what she's talking about.
I find that in my time in management and hiring people, the times where you're interviewing someone, but they're actually asking you a ton of questions, it almost makes that interaction go so much better. It feels so much more natural. So it's like, I like that tip,
Mhm.
because if someone's calling, interviewing you, and yet you're not just answering all the questions. I mean, anyone can answer, yeah, I'll give you 25%. Yeah, I've done this, I've done this. But your interest in their client, I think, helps build a better rapport with you and the other agent, and makes them more likely to want to send it to you versus maybe they are calling 2 or 3 other people.
Mhm. Yeah, you just think of it as more collaborative
Mhm.
and more of a partnership.
Yeah.
So if I'm accepting a referral from you, we're going to be in partnership. We're going to be doing business together. And what does that look like? What do you expect of me? Expectations are so important. How do you prefer to be communicated with? How do your clients prefer to be communicated with? What is their expectation level with regards to responsiveness? Are they the kind of client that'll text you at 10:30 at night and expect a response? Or do they understand normal business hours? You know, there's some important conversations to be had about personalities so that you can service people properly. My Washington one, she's not ready to buy yet, but she's been messaging me, asking me to go out and FaceTime her from properties that are an hour and a half away from here. Now that's a total waste of my time right now, because she cannot pull the trigger. So then I had to contact the agent that referred her to me and say, hey, I need a favor. I've had an expectations conversation with this person and they're still not paying attention to me. So I need you to have the same conversation with them as well. And here's what it looks like. I am more than happy to go gung ho as soon as they are in the position to buy, but it's pointless for me to go out and FaceTime from a property that takes 4 hours out of my day that I just don't have for somebody that can't pull the trigger yet. And, you know, so you have an
And how did that-
ally.
How did that go?
He said, absolutely. I'll call and tell her the same thing. And he's like, just, you know, just stay in communication with her, just help her to understand, like, as soon as we get them under contract here and they're ready to pull the trigger, then you'll be able to do a lot more for her.
Yeah, one of the things, I ran into the same thing, and again, being a newer agent, I think one of the things that's worked well for me is telling people, blaming it on the sellers, saying most of the time sellers are only going to let us in this home if we can prove to them that you're already pre-qualified and ready to buy, or have proof of funds if you're
Mhm.
paying cash. And then that way it kind of takes it off of me just not wanting to waste my time
Right.
for someone that isn't ready.
Exactly. Here was some qualification questions that they had in here for us to pre-screen and pre-qualify when we are sending out leads to other areas. That was on page 19. And I would say, like, hang on to this and keep it handy, because sometimes you get in conversation and you forget the things that you need to ask, but it has a list of 15 different questions that you can ask to pre-qualify a candidate before sending the referral over to them. So definitely get yourself familiar with all of these. What do you love about what you do? Which do you like better, listing or buyers, and why? How long have you been in the business? What's your area of expertise? Is there a geographic area that you serve or that you won't go to? What's your average price point of homes that you're dealing with? Can you tell me a little bit about the town? Tell me a little bit about the neighborhood. How many families have you personally helped buy a home this year? How do you establish rapport with people? Do you preview homes? Well, we don't really get to preview a lot of homes because they're gone in 2 seconds now. What organizations or charities do you belong to? What do you spend your time doing outside of real estate? And how often, once we have a referral going, how often would you allow me to communicate with you to get updates on what's going on with the client? And what's your standard referral fee you're willing to pay? Those are all super important. Can you think of any other questions that you might want to ask somebody before you send them business?
Well, it's not on here, but one thing I asked all the agents last night is to send me some of their listings that they've done. I wanted to look over how they present and market their work. And then the one told me to add her on Facebook, and she did. And I'm seeing like she previewed, like this was like 2 days ago. She went through and previewed 10 houses and had little FaceTime videos of all of them. This was my favorite one. And I was like, that's, great education, showing what the new construction like was in the area.
Yeah.
And I was going through and flipping through her stuff, and I'm like, I like her social. They all had a social media presence, which I have hardly any. Anyway, but I was impressed with that. So, with what I saw on her site versus the other ones.
Yeah.
One other thing that I'll interject too is, and Dan Turkel shared his interview questions with me, and I used it kind of as a format whenever I was doing it. And one of the questions that he has on there is how many buyers they currently have that they're working with. Because if someone's trying to juggle, 13 different buyers of the same that are actively ready, willing, and doing 13 times, this person's going to get, put on the back burner.
Well, yeah. And even to that point, even a more specific question might be, if you know that your buyer is in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, how many other buyers are you actively working with right now in the $200,000 to $300,000 range?
That's good. I like that.
Because who's going to get the lead? Who's going to get the deal, right? It's really difficult if you have more than one buyer buying for the same property.
Well, and also your buyer that you're referring out is going to be at a disadvantage because that agent knows 25% of that commission is going back to you. So yeah, that's a wonderful point. Because if they have 5 other buyers that are looking in the same price range, those other 5 buyers are going to be at a higher priority than this new person that you're sending in. That's good. I like that.
Exactly. And also the other thing that I would say if I'm sending a buyer away is what methods are you using currently to try to find off-market deals for buyers? Are you doing that? And what's your success rate for contracts written to under contract? So we know everybody's in multiple offer situations and everybody loses sometimes, but what's your success rate for getting people under contract? Because if we're going to send them somewhere, we want them to be a winner, right? Yeah. And then, if you're a solo agent, there will be times that you'll be referring business to somebody in your own personal market center, perhaps too. So maybe having some allied partnerships as well with people you can trust for when you go on vacation. And there, deals always happen when you go on vacation. So sometimes, most of the time, these referrals are out of area, but sometimes these referrals are actually going to be here in Springfield in our market center because we just get too busy and we can't service a client. So
what is a common way that actually goes down,
Mhm.
like the vacation scenario
Mhm.
that you're talking about as an individual agent. I mean, are you paying someone to go and open the door and you're just bringing your laptop with you and you're the one that's actually writing the offer, or are you just passing them off? If you're passing them off, are you giving, I'm just curious.
It
about how
depends on the
goes.
client
Okay.
and the book of business. So if I have a buyer that I have been showing property to for 6 months already, you can darn well bet I've got my laptop handy and I'll be paying somebody to open a door. But I'm so vested in getting them under contract on something, right? But if I'm going on vacation somewhere where I can't take my laptop or I'm not going to be readily available, then that conversation with the other agent is, hey, if you show them houses, I can reimburse you this much. If you end up writing them a contract and getting them under contract, it'll be this much. And that's just a case by case basis, but just make sure you get everything in writing. And,
Ahead of
you have it. Yeah, exactly. Ahead of time, just kind of go through the scenarios and say, here's what I'm willing to pay for these different varying levels of service for my clients while I'm gone.
Okay.
And, you just pick somebody that you can trust to completely take the deal and run with it. Michael Rice says that they got a referral from a nightly rental manager and property managers that don't do sales. So that would be somebody else to network with too, property management groups, because they might be able to refer you investors as well. They may manage property. I have a gentleman that is a property manager for a whole bunch of people from China that are investors from China buying up property over here. And he was like, hey, next time we have a need for an agent, I'll give you a call for my out of area buyers. So you just never know where that next referral could come from. And we are just about, it's already 1 o'clock. I'm going to skim through this and see what else we didn't get to cover that's super important. All of it's important, but make sure that you have an understanding and a discussion and a conversation up front with the other agent. Everyone is on the same page with what that referral cost is and that they're willing to pay it. And then if you're paying the referral cost, make sure that whoever's helping you with transaction management knows that there's a referral fee that needs to get paid at closing, and make that part of your green sheet. And I would just say the prospecting and marketing, we really do need to prospect and market to existing real estate agents. So whatever that looks like for you, just think in your head, what can I do on a personal level to establish credibility with these other agents and become top of mind if they need to send someone my way to Springfield. Everybody's plan's going to be different. I know it's nice to have a specific. My biggest specific for you is get them in command, get them tagged in command, and then keep up a touch program as you're adding new agents. Set a goal for yourself on every event that you attend that I'm going to add 5 new agents to my database, or I'm going to add 10 new agents to your database, and just be committed and purposeful about it. I sent a referral to Tampa. One of my clients was moving to Florida. And so I got her connected with a really good KW group out there. And they sent me a pair of customized socks. And on the bottom of the sock, it had their group name, their real estate group name on the bottom of the sock. And, the tagline on the little socks was, thanks for knocking our socks off with your referral. I'm not going to forget them now. If I need to send back to Tampa, I know who gets my business. They
And
send me
it's
new
not even about
socks.
the socks. It's just about standing out in someone's mind. Yeah.
It's the thankfulness. Yes. So when we do get a referral, make sure we express gratitude for that referral. The person that sent it needs to understand that we appreciate it. We're thankful for the referral. Can we send them a little something, a little thank you, even though they're getting 25%? Can we send them a card and a Starbucks thanks a latte or something? Yeah. And then there was just a lot about leverage, leveraging your out of area nets. And a lot of these agents that are doing this successfully at a high level utilize family reunion, mega camp. They're like, my entire reason for going, obviously I'm going to learn something, but I'm going to network. I'm going to meet new people. And I'm going to form more allied partnerships and relationships out of, and purposely do things like Mark suggested, sitting at other tables with people that you don't know, and a chance for going out to mixers and things like that. So they made a good point in the book. They said, if the cost of attending these events seems daunting, keep in mind that agent referral business you generate there could potentially cover the cost of attendance and then some. All just one referral from it, right? And exchanging business cards is fine, but make sure you're the one getting their card, because you want to be able to follow up with them and you want their contact info and you want to put them in your command. And then market, and market, maintain contact with them. And I would say the tagging in the database. There's a whole section on page 30 from an agent at a high level that goes to the KW white pages for her referrals. And she is constantly marketing and prospecting to people through her KW database. And her recommendation was put a lot on yourself out there in your profile. She said if she is going to an area to refer someone and she looks at their profile and there's not much on there, she thinks, well, that person just probably doesn't want referrals because they're not even sharing anything about themselves. So it takes a few minutes to do once, and then the benefits to it can last a long time. Okay. In terms of implementing, does anybody have questions for me as far as like, we had an idea, but not sure how to put that together or how to implement it since it's already one and I know everybody's having to sign off.
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Thank you, Ruthie. You have a wonderful day too. So if you have more questions for me about this, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm here at the Market Center, or you can call or text or email me, but biggest ahas and takeaways, my recommendations are get everybody into command, keep meeting new agents, keep getting them in command, target market to other agents through command, whether it's newsletter, video newsletter, database, handwritten notes a couple times a year, postcards. Just the more that you get in there and finding them on Facebook and creating content of value that you can share with them. It's going to be the biggest way to get agent to agent referrals, I think. Righty. Okay, it's 1:06, so I'm gonna shut her down, and I hope that you guys learned something good today about agent referrals. That is one of my favorite ways to do business. Thank you, Craig. Now, what do I do? Recording on. I'm so not techie. I guess stop share. Thank you, Michael. I say utilize that baby to your advantage. It's a good icebreaker. I guess I go leave Zoom here. Leave Zoom. That's smart, very smart. And he's going to know the real estate business before he's even in kindergarten. Future realtor in training. All righty, thanks guys. I'm going to go ahead and shut her down.